So, this is a brand new video series that I'm going to be doing, which is going to be book reviews, talking about books that have really impacted me, my game of Pétanque, and my strengths and knowledge as a coach for other players, and to help people, obviously, on YouTube videos. So this video is going to be relatively short, relatively succinct, because what I'm going to do is put the much more expanded version of the video for my members. Excuse me, for my members. Now, membership of YouTube is very, very reasonable. It doesn't cost a lot. It will also be on my school community. But enough of the sales pitch. Let's get down to the book. So, The Inner Game of Tennis by Timothy Galway. Now, the first thing you're going to be saying is, what the hell has tennis got to do with pétanque? Very good question. I first bought this book nearly 20 years ago, and it had such an impact on me. I have read it countless times, again and again and again. I've highlighted different parts of it. I've absorbed it, and I've allowed it to change me, not only as a player, but also as a person who can articulate the gold. So, as you can see, I have rewritten all of my notes. This took me about 48 hours to do. And let's get into it. What the hell does The Inner Game of Tennis have to do with pétanque? Essentially, there are two selves, self one and self two, and they are part of everybody in the game. Now, and they are part of everybody in life, whether you're playing a sport or whether you're just in existence. So self one is the inner critic. This is the person that goes yada, 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 and says, oh, you always miss to the left, or you're always short, or you always hit our bull when they're close together. You're always bad against John over there because you know he's so much better. Self one is the person that is constantly there in our lives. Self two, however, is the part of ourselves that we really, really need to focus on. We really need to develop self two, and we really need to put our trust in self two. So self two is essentially your subconscious mind. Self one tries to control everything. Self one says, if I just grip my ball a little bit less, if I just relax a little bit more, if I just concentrate on throwing ball in a straight line, if I just adjust my shot in this tiny little way, then I'll be able to produce the results I want. Self one is very ego driven. Self two, totally different. Self two is about trust, trusting the body to deliver what the mind actually wants. So what we have to do is we have to reduce the inner critic, the internal mind. How do we dial that in so that the reduction of the inner critic allows us to win? So self one is the teller, that's the conscious mind. Self two, as I mentioned, is the doer, that's the subconscious mind. And there's an awful lot of extra books here. Another one that's very, very good is With Winning in Mind by Lanny Basham. I'll come back to that in another particular one. But just to explain this a little bit more, self one is essentially capable of storing knowledge that you can fit onto a post-it note. Whereas self two, the subconscious mind, it's like a supercomputer. It's like AI on steroids, and it can filter everything in your environment, and it can allow you to focus on only the thing that is important, whether that is a shot or whether that is a point. So in order to develop the trust that we need in self two, the first thing we've got to do is quieten the mind. The mind, self one, is running rampage. And you've got to stop that rampage that's going on, that constant inner critic, that ego that says, I'm the best shooter in my club. You've got to be able to just say, no, just calm down here. I just want to develop and work on self two, the subconscious mind. So that's less judgment, that's less worry, it's less regret, it's less trying, less controlling, less fear, less distractions. And in order to do that, one of the simplest ways is just to observe. Don't be judgmental. Don't look at things as good or bad. They are just what they are. Was it a hit? Was it a miss? It's not a big deal. We're not playing for a row of houses. It's just, is it a hit? Is it a miss? Once you learn to observe and become less judgmental, then you can learn to develop your trust in yourself too. So part of that is reloading after a shot. You played a shot, whether it's a hit or a miss or a carrow or whatever it is, or maybe you went through or off the terrain. Post-shot thinking really, really matters, because what we've got to determine is a list of different things. Is it important to carrow? Is a carrow great? Is a shot okay? Is a miss really, really bad? But beating yourself up and working on these different things, that needs work. And you have to imagine the next shot to let go of the previous one. Very, very easy to say, but very, very difficult to do. Now, the only way you can do that is to truly be in the moment and to truly let go of the past, because you cannot do anything about it. If you just missed a shot, just observe and say, yeah, I missed that one. I'll show you how great I am. You watch me hit this next one. Now, if you happen to miss the next one, you just smile and let it go. So you can't beat yourself up. You've got to say, okay, hit, great. Maybe carrow, great. Just a little shot, maybe a little tap, that's okay, maybe not. If it's a total miss, you just rephrase things. You just say, that needs work. You've got to imagine the next shot before you've even played it. You've got to run it in your mind's eye and determine exactly what outcome you want to get. But more importantly, you've got to trust and allow the body to do what you want to execute. So errors in themselves, misses, they're not necessarily bad. They're just lessons. They're guiding points that tell us, I need to go this way, or I need to go that way, or I need to focus on going straight down the middle. So one of the phrases that I love to use in Pétanque is, we either win or we learn. Just let that sink in. Because a loss isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially if there's lessons that are within there. Now, if you lost to better opponents, did you raise your game to play against those better opponents? If you came up against a shooter that was carrow, carrow, carrow every single time, did you let it defeat yourself before you'd even thrown a single ball? If these are situations where you're not necessarily learning from the game, but you're allowing yourself to be defeated before you've even stepped into the circle, those are lessons that are very, very vital. So part of this is where we can adapt an actor type, alter ego, whatever you want to call it. I've discussed it in other things in my Bull Mind series. So what qualities does a top player have? What virtues, what values, what particular gestures do they use? How can you adapt those to your own game? How can you allow those things to develop your own self too? How can you say, okay, I quite like Petanque. I love his calmness. I love his total lack of emotion when he plays. I really like Damien Ho when he plays. He looks literally like an automaton. He is just always exactly the same. There's no flicker of emotion. There's no celebration when he hits a carrow. There's no really bad feelings when he misses. He just is. How can we adapt and embrace those things to employ them to our game? How can we walk? How can we have a different will to win, such as the embodiment of Henri Lacroix, who plays every single ball like it's the most important ball he's ever played in his life? How can we have that stature, that will to win? How can we have these different things? How can we use things like our breath to allow self-one just to calm down, to quieten the mind? How can we use things such as the bull themselves to make ourselves more present? How can we look at our bull? How can we think, okay, I'm playing with 680. Yeah, these are Balanciel ball. They've got markings on them. Yeah, there's a big mark there where I hit a jack yesterday. Yeah, these are just little tiny things. How does the ball feel in the hand? How does the weight of it feel? How does the fingers wrapping around the ball? Make this part of your routine. Make this something that allows you just to be present in the moment, to use the breath just to be present, to calm yourself down. So Another vital part is to embrace challenges, to seek out better teams, to learn to lose. Very, very important. To increase our self-knowledge, to use parts of things in the book that we can embrace, that we can say, okay, this is self one, the overcritical, judgmental. This is self two. This is allowing the body to do exactly what it knows how to do. If I give a total beginner a ball and I say to them, throw that ball to land onto that ball, I don't give them any other instruction. I don't tell them, you have to grip it like this, you have to throw it like this, you have to have a certain backswing. I just say, here is a ball. Throw this ball to land onto that ball. In about 10 attempts, they're going to actually get that to happen without any instruction, just by sitting there and observing. If you said, here you go, watch this guy, see how he does it. Watch this girl, see how she throws her ball, canteros, and it just hits and it moves the ball that you're shooting for. How does this change your actual game if you adapt a total beginner attitude? If you adapt it and if you say, I want to be childlike in terms of actually how I approach the game now, how I observe the best play, what I have to do to watch them, how I actually have to learn from them. You see, we can only really realize our potential in the face of obstacles. These obstacles, these opponents, these world-class players, these shooters that hit absolutely every ball, they are our opportunity to learn, to embrace the pain, to say, come on, give me your best game. That's how we improve our game. That's how we get the chance to improve increase our potential and not to crush our optimism. So one of the biggest things is in this particular book, in a game of tennis, is to change habits, to not fight or try to crush old habits, but to be mindful and to increase and to start brand new habits, to replace habits that we have, to have a childlike disregard for any imagined difficulties that there might be, to be prepared to embrace loss, to learn, to be conscious of the fact that sometimes you win games without actually winning. Last night, for example, I won a game not because I played particularly well, but because the opponent shooter shot his own ball twice in the final end. I mean, they were all very clustered around, but I didn't feel particularly great walking off that terrain thinking, well, that was 12 all, and I just won, and I didn't particularly do anything. The guy just shot his own ball out, so not particularly good. So the most important thing, don't be judgmental. Don't beat yourself up. Don't create new habits that create distrust. We need to build trust in those habits. We need to make deposits into a bank. Now, we make those deposits in this so-called bank, this bank of trust, this bank of self too, by making deposits. Now, you make deposits by repeating things constantly, by observing, by looking and saying, okay, what actually happened in that shot? What worked? What was good? What wasn't so good? Then repeating those particular processes again and again and again, and just observing without judgment, just allowing self to develop nicely. If you want more of this particular analysis. Now this is 13, 14 minutes, and I've got probably another 20, 30 minutes of waffle and talking and embracing and teaching people what I've learned from this remarkable book that I've read so many times. I highly recommend you buy it. The link will be in the description. Look at it, not from a tennis book. Look at it from how do I adapt this and make this about my pétanque. Become a member of either the Pétanque Performance Academy, the link is in my bio, or become a member on YouTube, because I will be talking an awful lot more about this book. And that starts right now for the members.